Okay, it is now 2014. Officially. This isn't being taped in 2013 like the previous videos have been. So this is officially the first review video of the new year. So hopefully everyone's excited about the prospect of great movies coming out later this year. Yeah, that's later this year. Yeah, certainly not in January.
We all know January is the dumping grounds of last year.
Yes. And we're going to be discussing 2 movies today. Yeah, only 2 movies, so you actually get a break today. You don't have to discuss like 4,000 movies like normal. We're going to be talking about a movie that I swore I'd never see theatrically. Ever. But because of you guys out there needing a review, I forced myself to do it. So we are actually going to be reviewing the new Paranormal Activity, the marked ones.
A week late.
Yeah, but at least you're getting it. I tried not to. And a movie that just came out today, that we just got out of, the Legend of Hercules. Yeah. AJ, take it away.
Alright. I guess it should be, the first thing I should say is as far as the Paranormal Activity movies go, I'm not really a fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I barely follow their little storyline they have going on. And they're trying to do the Saw thing and the Fast and Furious thing, where the big hip thing to do with your franchises now is to fuck up their timeline. So,
speaking of the reason why the Saw series was killed was Paranormal Activity.
So, this continues that.
Yeah.
So, most people thought it was just going to be like a spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
It just an in-name-only spin-off. But I think it's common knowledge now that it's connected.
Yeah.
You see that in the fucking trailer, apparently.
Yeah?
Because I could, yeah.
You wouldn't know.
Well, here.
Yeah.
So, I went, okay. I'm not too afraid of offending people by saying this is bad, because it seems that most people seem to think that. Like, even fans.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we should be fine.
This should be the last one in October. I think it'll kill the franchise.
So I gotta be honest. Well, I think this one's box office might not have been as good, just because it's not necessarily. It's not the same thing. They still do the found footage bullshit, but it's not the. Everything's fucking blue and black, and we have cameras propped up and watch the fucking nights happen.
Not until the end.
It's a different thing than the rest of the series, but it's obvious. There's obvious, connections. Yeah. Well, first off, I was kind of. I kind of didn't like this movie. I mean, I don't normally like when people do this, but I am often kind of one of those people, and this certainly brought it out in me.
Okay.
I hated this movie immediately.
Yep.
Because the movie started and we have the Paramount logo coming up. And I see that star come around the mountain, and I was like, well, okay, it's time to start. Let's see what happens. And before the star is even around the mountain, it starts to do the malfunctioning video thing. To which I thought, oh, how original. They're fucking with the distributor logo to fit the movie. Hooray. This is gonna be great. So, I knew this movie was gonna be bad before the Paramount logo even faded out. Which I never really doubted anyway, because, it's a horror movie in January.
Yeah.
Mama was a fluke, and Mama's just okay, so that explains that.
Compared to PA, it's a masterpiece.
Okay. So, just like every single other movie just like this, have you ever noticed that when found footage movies start, even when they're in a different genre like Chronicle is, even though Chronicle is one of the best movies of 2012,
says you.
Regardless, all found footage movies, just when they start, you feel like you've seen the movie before.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what it is.
They're all the same. They all have to have the same premise.
This one starts at a graduation, and you have this kid, Oscar, who's the valedictorian. And you have, I think their names are Jesse and Hector.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which is way too close to Jesse and Chester, the main characters in Two Where's My Car.
Much be rather watching this. That and
If those characters were the star of this movie, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, pretty much.
And of course, one of them has a camera constantly, and they fuck around, they get into trouble, they go to parties. Then supernatural shit starts happening, and it may or may not end with everybody dying. You've seen this movie before, trust me.
4 times.
I have a theory, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it went through my head when I was watching this one. I think I know the twist to all found footage movies.
Okay.
And at some point in there will be a found footage movie maybe 10 or 20 years from now that will reveal this twist. But I think I figured it out now.
Okay.
Because like most found footage movies, you know the twist very much ahead of time.
Well, yeah.
Somewhere in the distant universe, there is an alternate reality.
Yeah.
And in this alternate reality, every single person in the world takes a camera with them everywhere they go. And also in this alternate reality, nothing but bad shit happens to people.
Yeah.
And this all takes place in one world.
I buy that.
I actually picture a found footage movie in the future where you have the one character who never puts the camera down, and they're filming people, and all the other characters in the movie are people who never put a camera down. It's just all people filming each other.
Oh, God.
This movie will exist somewhere in the future. And the population is just going horribly down in this alternate reality.
It's idiocracy.
Okay, so on with whatever this plot, I guess, is. They live in this apartment complex that looks like a cheap hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this woman, this weird woman that apparently doesn't speak English, that is apparently a witch, or they think is a witch. I don't know, nothing in this movie is revealed.
Nope.
Just what happens, happens, and it ends. Of course, that's not to say it doesn't set up for questions to possibly be answered, but probably not. And they basically spy on this witch with the camera. Because, it just so happens this is around the time the weird shit starts happening is when they suddenly decide to start carrying a camera around with them everywhere they go.
Yeah.
And will not put it down for anything.
Nope.
There is a crucial part where one of the character's family members dies. And and it's a horrible discovery. Like, if you were to see one of your family members like this, you would probably just drop the camera and then, just take off.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see, like, from the audience's point of view, it'd be like a sideways shot of a wall or something.
Yeah, of course.
But he takes the time to take the camera lightly and set it down ever so gently, still standing up, so we can watch him run down the stairs.
Yeah, that was kind of peculiar.
Okay. So anyway, I think that's the extent of my bashing the fact that it's a found footage movie, because, it's... Found footage is really going into self-parody now, unintentionally. And I don't know why producers mainly, haven't caught on to that. They think this is still a happening thing to do, I guess.
I hope the concept of found footage just eventually eliminates itself.
Okay. And the next thing that happens that involves, okay, fuck it, we're still gonna bash it for being a found footage movie.
Yes.
You'll notice this a lot in found footage movies. Obviously, you can't have constant plot because they're trying to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get to that in a second. But, so what they do is their way of character development is to just have the characters doing stupid shit on the camera. This movie is 84 minutes. And the only reason it reaches feature length is because we have long scenes of... There's a scene of them dancing with their dog, whose name is Chavo. I found that for me.
Yeah.
There's pointless scenes of the characters smoking weed, because that's what they all do. There's a lot of stereotypes in this movie.
A lot.
There's a prolonged scene where because this is a totally original idea, I think it's Jesse that's asleep, and Hector draws a dick on his face. Because that wasn't done in, Garden State, or 10 Things I Hate About You, or a billion other movies you can probably think of.
Yeah.
So much so I'm embarrassed that I'm probably missing 20 of them. And there's that whole thing. But finally, we do get into some stuff like, I'm not saying it's good stuff. Oh yes, another thing that takes up a lot of time in found footage movies. Have you ever noticed when you watch a found footage movie how many scenes are taken up with... Okay, obviously the whole movie is a character filming the events of the movie.
Yeah.
So we're already seeing what's filmed. But, and every fucking one of them does this, there are prolonged scenes of the characters watching the footage we've already seen.
Yeah. Really wish they wouldn't
And nothing new comes of it. They're only discovering what we already saw. They can't even do like a cut and somebody says, whoa, I was looking back and did you see that? We have to watch them watch what we watched.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, at least most found footage movies are short. So
yeah, that's the good thing.
I'll talk about them being real now. Basically what they do is they really want these characters to feel like people you would know personally and people who are young hip teens and all that shit. Is it just me, or in particular, probably in most of them, but particularly in this movie, did it feel like the writers, when they were writing the teen characters, it's almost like they were doing bad parodies of what teenagers act like when they made these characters? There's a very awkward scene involving, they meet these two random girls at a party, and apparently these are the sluttiest girls of all time, because it takes them a whole 2 minutes to get them back into the abandoned apartment that a murder apparently happened in. And one of the girls is saying repeatedly, I want you to fuck the shit out of me. They've never met before about an hour ago.
Doesn't that remind you a little bit like the first story in VHS? Like it was trying to do that?
Yeah, well, yeah. You mean the I Like You girl?
Yes.
Here's something that's been... Oh, yeah, and it also wastes time with false scares. Like, there's a scene involving a firecracker, and there's a particular scene where you know that scene where the friend has to scare the other friend, where he jumps out of the fucking beads? The bad thing about this, I mentioned this, I think, during VHS 2. The best thing about, because VHS 2 fucked this up.
Yeah.
And this did too, of course. There's not many things that this movie didn't fuck up. The great thing about found footage movies is you can't use the cheap crutch that is using your score to scare the shit out of people. You can't have a really loud musical chord to scare the shit out of the audience because there is no score in found footage movies, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this movie is so horribly put together and so horribly handled. This is one of those movies where even though there isn't a score to jump out and scare you, you know where the scares are coming from a mile away just by the way things are.
Yeah.
Like the silences and the way things are shot and where they're just going. That's really bad when you don't have a score and the audience can still... because there's those moments where... We've talked about this a fucking lot. What happens in movies with score is the score will be really quiet, and then there'll be like 5 seconds where the score just stops and goes silent, and then you know the scare is coming. Oh, yeah. You don't even have that to warn you where the scares are coming in this movie, and you know exactly where they are. Mm-hmm. That's really bad. Alright. There's kind of, the closest thing we get to a genuine scare is something involving, it's a little ridiculous to say, so that kind of gives you an idea, but, a crucial I guess character, we'll say. A crucial character in this movie is the game Simon.
Yeah.
Which that is an effective way to use that game.
Yeah.
But, you know, they do it like 3 times. Oh, here's this kept getting to me too. This is fucking dumb. This movie, you can kind of tell, you can almost like, there are movies where you can kind of tell how they feel about themselves and how the makers feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can more or less, it's almost like you almost feel like you're within reach and can communicate with the people that made the movie. Because you can just get a sense of how they felt while making it while you're watching it.
True.
The annoying thing, because this happens like 20 times, when the makers of this, or maker, it's a writer and director working by himself, when he felt like he'd done something really dramatic, like when he really felt he'd scared the holy shit out of you, you can tell because it cuts to black.
Yeah.
I suppose that's supposed to symbolize the guy finally turning off the camera. I don't know why, because he films shit like making his dog dance, but if some really horrible shit is going down, you just hear the character screaming, "What the fuck?" and then the camera shuts off. You'd think if he was that desperate to keep the camera on at all times, he would film the shit that's going down.
Yeah.
But no, when it gets too intense for him, it shuts off. Yeah, I'd also like to add, apparently teenagers love to say the phrase, "what the fuck."
Mm-hmm.
Is it really said that often in the modern vernacular?
Because
here's what happens.
I noticed.
There are about four different ways you can say "what the fuck," and they're all featured in this movie. There's obviously, "holy shit, I'm being attacked by a ghost, what the fuck," which is, "oh, what the fuck, what the fuck?" And then there's you're seeing something really funny. "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And then there's, you're really excited. "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And then there's one more. There's confused. "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?"
I know you use that one once in a while.
All "what the fucks" are present in this movie, many times over. I want to count how many "what the fucks" are in this movie.
Do you really want to watch it again?
Well, no. Well, what's funny is I was talking about the writer is basically like an adult doing a parody of teens. I'm kind of surprised they weren't just saying WTF instead.
It's funny because the writer-director of this actually wrote Blood and Chocolate and Disturbia in the same year.
Disturbia is awesome. Blood and Chocolate's not. Blood and Chocolate's fucking horrible, but...
Disturbia is awesome.
Did Disturbia have a co-writer at least?
Doesn't say that. It's a screenplay/story.
Surely he had a co-writer that helped him. Alright, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure there's fans that want to know... They don't want to know spoilers, but they want to know how it's connected. It's connected, at least, as far as I know, to all of them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
A question about the ending of 4 is kind of answered, somewhat. But there's references who may or may not show up from 1, 2, and 3. Well, obviously it's the woman from the second one, I think, is the one they go visit in the park, exposition lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to have that exposition person that tells you everything that's going on, that has all the fucking files and shit. There's also a lot of unintentional laughs. There's one scene that I thought was pretty funny involving a baseball bat in a store, where a baseball bat is taken from a character and it's used on him, and that scene's just shot in an unintentionally hilarious way. There's a scene that's a spoiler, but I will just say, this movie has the funniest use of a shotgun I think I've ever seen.
No lie.
That scene was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, maybe I'm giving the guy too little credit, but I think we're supposed to assume that scene is supposed to be all badass. But
no.
Oh my god, that scene.
I know. It made me laugh out loud when I watched the movie.
And, you can pretty much, if you've seen a found footage movie, you probably know how the movie ends. So, yeah. And it's sending this, like I said, I'm not a fan of this series, but the thing, I guess you could say this movie's contribution to the timeline is really not what this movie needed.
No.
So this franchise that I'm already not a particular fan of, I can only imagine, 5 comes out in October. Most people are calling this one the 5th one, but the technically called Paranormal Activity 5 comes out in October. It was supposed to come out this past October, but they said, maybe they're embarrassed.
They should be.
I can only imagine what stupid shit that has in store after what this movie sets up. So,
What's the camera angle this time?
We'll see how that comes out. So let's go on to our second and last movie. We're not really increasing in quality.
No.
So, this movie might actually be worse. The Legend of Hercules, which you've probably barely heard of. It's actually got, TV spots and, internet advertisement galore, but it's pretty much all the same thing. It's Kellan Lutz standing in the rain. That's pretty much the only...
Shirtless.
That's the only promotional stuff I've seen. So this started... by the way, we didn't see it in 3D, but I'm willing to bet that if we did see it in 3D, it would look even... Okay. The thing about this movie, you could probably tell already, but it's even more apparent when you're watching it. It looks really cheap, and I can only imagine how much worse it would look in 3D. Because it's clearly one of those movies that's constantly throwing shit at you. It's that kind of 3D, and not in the good way, not in the fun Spy Kids way.
I miss Spy Kids.
I will say, I didn't know this until the end credits came up. The director of this movie is Rennie Harlan.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, and I have a love-hate relationship with him. He has some great movies, he did The Long Kiss Goodnight, and he did Mindhunters, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, Cutthroat Island's kind of a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And he did Die Hard 2. And he did not-so-great movies like Cliffhanger, and... Actually, I'm pretty sure his bad movies outweigh the good. He did that Exorcist prequel.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of stuff, but obviously we know where this goes on his pile of movies. He was basically doing this as Zack Snyder. Because, this almost makes Zack Snyder look mild. This is one of those movies, I know you probably thought 300 was bad about this. And obviously this movie wants to be 300. And a movie where we already have, in a year where we already have another 300 movie coming out. I used to confuse their trailers. I used to think one was the other and the other way around.
Yeah, it's...
Obviously when I talk about Zack Snyder, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his slow-mo fetish.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. This movie was... I don't even know how long it was. It was about an hour and a half or something.
Seemed longer.
I bet that if everything that was in slow-mo in this movie was at regular speed, the movie would be 25 minutes long.
Yeah. That's probably a good bet.
The length of this movie comes from the slow-mo. Because you have your action scenes. Maybe... I was sitting here thinking... Before I went in to watch it, I was like, well, maybe it's one of those movies where at the very least it has decent action scenes. Because that's pretty much all you can count on anymore. Yeah. You have to set the bar low on your way in when you go into a movie like this, especially if it comes out in January. But no. I'm seriously saying every action scene in this movie, every 5 seconds, if that, stops for a bit of slow-mo.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he be swinging his sword, he's got to stop and do it. And this is not even Zack Snyder slow-mo. I think to the scene in Watchmen where Patrick Wilson jumps in the air and punches that guy.
Yeah.
The slow-mo isn't that slow. It slowed down for the effect, and then it kept going. This fucking slow-mo is fucking slow.
Yeah.
The sword coming around takes about 10 goddamn minutes to make contact. And I'll talk about making contact with the sword in a second. But the thing is, that's its whole other thing.
Yeah.
And it happens there is a scene of slow-mo at least 20 times every action scene. It's constant. And all it does is slow the shit down. It has no effect whatsoever. I promise. So basically what this movie is... Yeah, there's a plot. A little bit. You have wannabe Leonidas here, who's, by the way, a very scrawny looking guy.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to compensate. And he's got his wife, his "you are my wife because I said so" wife. And they've got like a child. Okay. So I don't even know how to word this. The whole time I was building up to this, I was trying to think of how to word it, and now I still don't know. So I'm just gonna say it as it happened. You have this woman laying in bed. Long story short, Zeus sneaks into her bed and fucks her.
Yeah.
She fucks an invisible Zeus. You see the sheet come up, and she just has an orgasm. And then a human baby comes out.
Oh my god. I'm only laughing because I know how true it is.
She has a human baby. And of course there's that, you know... The dad is antagonistic for no reason. Just to be the villain later. That's why he's antagonistic now. And he is immediately pitted against his brother at birth. Do you know why he and his brother are enemies? Because the father's only line when Hercules is born is, "He will never be as good as his brother," and then he storms out.
Yeah.
Instant enemies.
Of course.
They may have been the bestest friends of all time if they had grown up as normal brothers. But because the father simply said Hercules will not be better than his brother, instant enemies, we got another instant villain in the brother too. And that's how this movie goes. The movie just goes from there. Battle scenes, final battle, ending. It's very abrupt too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it being short is probably a very good thing, but, you know. So needless to say, this movie is awfully ridiculous. There are a couple of scenes that are very funny involving him. We have Hercules fighting Game of Thrones and/or Spartacus rejects. And you've got the slow-mo and you've got the operatic choir. And it just, hilarity ensues.
It makes me excited
in
for
all the wrong
300.
ways. I'd like to point out another ridiculous scene. Are you ready for this? Actually, it leads to... This is another part involving the brothers being enemies. The brother's an enemy just because. That's it, just because.
That's all it ever has to
long
be.
story short, Hercules strangles and kills a lion.
Yeah.
It is as ridiculous as it sounds, yes. Made even worse by the fact that the brother's basically kind of a pussy when this lion is around. So that's why Hercules puts it in a deadly headlock. And then the brother shows up and is wearing the lion. And takes all the credit for it and says, "Ha! Hercules was a pussy. He didn't do anything. He did not put that lion in a headlock of death." So that's how their rivalry basically starts in the movie anyway. I think we're supposed to assume it happens since birth.
Yeah.
Alright. I'd like to say this. I didn't even think about this till about halfway through the movie. It's really funny. The only other movie I've seen Kellan Lutz in that's not a Twilight movie is that movie Java Heat.
Oh my god, yes.
That one that I did a review for?
Yeah, the one you bashed the daylights out of.
I was already thinking something about Hercules, and then I remembered I think I said the same thing about Java Heat. So this might sound familiar if you happen to, for some reason, see that. Normally in bad movies, you have that one character that stands out. Like you say, "Oh my god, that movie fucking sucked," but at least I liked that guy.
Yeah.
Like that one guy. Even if it's a guy that like has one scene, you're like, "Oh man, I wish we'd seen more of that guy." That guy is not in this movie.
No, he's not.
And as far as the horrible actors in this,
Oh, boy.
Kellan Lutz and Jonathan Shuck are the only names I recognize. I don't even know which one Shuck was.
He was a character named Tarek.
I don't know. I didn't catch their names.
It's like Game of Thrones. You don't know who they are.
Yeah, there's so many people to keep... Well, Game of Thrones is because I don't care, and there's so many people to keep track of. I just gave up. Most fans of Game of Thrones don't even know how to pronounce the name, so they can kiss my ass.
Right on.
So, anyway, I was saying, and every now and then you have that one scene where it's like, okay, that was kind of a good scene, or like, all right, that was kind of cool. Nah. As far as the bad acting in this movie, every single line delivery from beginning to end is a bad line reading.
Yeah.
And some of them go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So, and it's made even more annoying by the fact that pretty much the father, I'm a villain father, basically every line he's given is made for the audience to say, oh my god, he's evil. Like, every single line, the audience is supposed to react with, oh man, he's definitely the villain. It's embarrassing. This screenwriter should run and hide. I think there were a couple, actually. Or a few, maybe. Most of these really bad epic movies usually have, like, 5 writers for some reason.
Probably because nobody wants to take credit for it. They just want to share the blame.
Okay. I'd also like to point out a particular... Okay, yeah, when I was talking about those line readings that go above and beyond, I've got an example.
Okay.
I remembered one. Okay. It's supposed to be one of those oh snap moments, but first of all, these movies should not have oh snap moments, and secondly, it was an embarrassing moment. Like, I wanted to hide my face and leave because there were actually people in the theater with us that witnessed it too.
And we can tell if they were digging it or not.
Okay, so the girl that Hercules is banging is supposed to marry his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Great relationship here. Okay, it makes Hercules look really good. I mean, I know the brother's a bad guy because it's like, you're marrying me because I say so. Because that's what happens in this family. But I mean, you know, still, I think Hercules is banging her just to, you know, antagonize his brother. But because Hercules is the good guy, we'll never tackle that subject. But regardless, okay, so clearly she's not a virgin. Because she's been banging Hercules for God knows how long. Every day. Because that's what love is in movies like this. You just bang by the lake all goddamn day.
Yeah.
The sun never sets at those lakes, by the way.
No.
The sun is always shining on your public sex. So, what happens is, they go and there's a big confrontation, and they say, more or less, I heard word that she's not a virgin. So the brother's confronting him, and he says, is it true you are not a virgin? Or is it true that she is not a virgin? And Hercules says, assure your brother that she is still a virgin. And he says, I assure you, brother, that is none of your business. He actually should have done that on his way out.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about that for a second.
Alright.
Hercules told his brother, none of your business. That's the line. That's not paraphrasing. That is the line. None of your business.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sure how English was back then, and how it's evolved, or how it was, or like if that was some kind of evolution in language or what. But I can't see the actual phrase "none of your business" being used back then.
No, I can't either.
Maybe if it was something like, I actually wrote it down. Yeah. Doesn't it seem like more likely that the line would be, I assure you, brother, that is of no concern of yours.
That makes more sense, yeah.
But no, Hercules actually said, I assure you, brother, that is none of your business.
None of your business.
I assure you, brother, mind your own damn beeswax.
So that line wasn't stolen from the marked ones, from the stereotypical cast?
Oh, probably. It was just... We were actually hearing it from the other theater, and we just thought he said it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about Kellan Lutz. No, I don't. Not yet. I'd like to...
we'll get to him later.
I'd like to point out that another one of these action scenes is a lot like... Going back into the slow-mo. I thought this was... Even though I kind of like this movie a little bit, I thought the scene in Sherlock Holmes, the Guy Ritchie one, the first one, was really ridiculous when we learned that Holmes is like a bare knuckle boxer.
Yeah.
I was like, Guy Ritchie, you're not fucking making Snatch, you're making fucking Sherlock Holmes now.
Wouldn't have a problem if you made another one.
A scene very similar to that is in this fucking movie for some reason.
Yeah.
Only it takes place in a giant puddle.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. That scene exists in this movie. And like I said, in a movie that I like Sherlock Holmes, I thought the scene was ridiculous in that. In a movie that's already ridiculous, no, it doesn't add a campy factor to it. It just makes it worse.
Yep.
Sorry. We'll talk about Kellan Lutz now. Okay. I don't know the guy personally. I just want to bring that up. I've never met the guy. I've never seen a guy in an interview. I know nothing about the dude except that he's like supposedly banged Miley Cyrus recently or something. But you know, it sounds like who hasn't.
I've got his filmography here.
Let me see this from the point of a casting director and a director who's looking for people. Unless you want to make a movie that's really cheap and you know is gonna fail, what goes through one's mind who is making an expensive movie, whether it looks expensive or not, and says, you know what, I think the best we can possibly do is Kellan Lutz. He was also in Syrup, by the way.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. He was Sneaky Pete, I think was his name.
That's correct.
Yeah, he barely had lines in that movie, so that was probably his best role. Like I said, I got nothing personally against him, but let me just say, Hercules is supposed to be this like this iconic like hero kind of thing. Like, just look at the animated one. Okay, he was all like he had the hair and he had the stance. He just looked heroic. Kellan Lutz kind of looks like a live-action Wreck-It Ralph if he had like the brain capacity of a crushed raisin. Do you know who Kellan Lutz reminds me of?
He reminds me of Matt Morgan.
As an actor, do you know who Kellan Lutz reminds me of?
No.
Do you remember the Iron Man suit in Iron Man 3 that was like really big and bulky and would crash through walls?
Yes.
That's who Kellan Lutz reminds me of.
He's an inanimate object.
Kellan Lutz reminds me of an overgrown robot.
Awesome.
So
he's not on our Christmas card list this year.
Yeah, and I don't... Okay, now he's got to be this... I'm a straight guy, so I'll understand this to the best of my capacity. There's always one word I use over and over again in each review. This time it's capacity.
Okay, that's true.
Okay, I'm trying to see Kellan Lutz from the stance of a woman. Okay? Because he's got to be this rough, gruff hero. Kellan Lutz looks like the shape of like a rotten fruit mixed with a rock. I don't understand how this person could be an appealing hero to anybody believably. I am so baffled by this, I asked you the same question I just asked earlier. Who was casting this movie looking for a lead and said, you know what, that Kellan Lutz fella, we can do no better.
Oh my god.
Somebody had to have said that because he's in the movie.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Okay. I'd also like to point out there are a couple more bad action scenes. There is one action scene that is hilarious towards the end, where he's chained to these giant
Partitions, maybe?
I guess whatever they are. They were like
Columns.
yeah, those things you see back then that nobody they just throw in scenes. They're not even attached to buildings sometimes. They're just there because they exist there. To chain people to. So what he does, and they're made out of these gigantic blocks, obviously. So what he does is he finds the strength in Zeus, because he's like, I believe in you, Father, or something like that.
Yeah.
My delivery right there was better than Kellan Lutz's.
Exactly.
So he finds the strength and he pulls the blocks down. So he's still got the chains attached to him, but he's got the big-ass blocks on the ends of them.
Oh my god.
And he just starts to swing them around and beat the shit out of people with them. And it looks really fake, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there is, I'm not kidding. I'm telling you to not watch the movie, but it's almost worth watching the movie for this little moment.
That scene will be on YouTube eventually.
I wonder if you noticed this. I don't know what the fuck he's fighting with, but it looks like just a staff. Okay? Kellan Lutz is just fighting people with this staff.
He's
left and right.
He's Donatello.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of the scene on the roof with all the agents in The Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah.
I would have done anything to see Kellan Lutz's big ass just around the ball like Neo was. Okay, so anyway, this fight ends, and he's conquered all, and he's got to do his bad. He raises the staff and makes everybody cheer.
The power of Grayskull.
That's what you do with a staff. You make people cheer when you raise it.
Yeah.
And then when you're done being badass, you just drop it on the ground because you have no use for it anymore because they've already cheered for you.
Yes.
And we see this big, epic shot of the staff hitting the ground. Did you notice anything about that shot?
Maybe not. I have to, because you started laughing hysterically, and I did not understand why.
I'm being serious. Like I said, watch it if you have to, just to believe it. When this staff hits the ground, I'm pretty sure it was made of rubber. Because it did not land like an epic staff should.
Did it bounce?
It did like a brief bounce and like a curve, like it was not this staff like it was supposed to be. Oh, God.
Then he broke out the whip and made of lightning and started attacking people with it.
Okay. So, I think I'm about done here. That basically sums this movie up. Oh, yes, no, one more thing. All these epic battle scenes where you have CG arrows flying at the screen.
Yeah.
And you have CG dirt flying at you whenever something hits the ground.
Yeah.
There's another thing. This is one of those movies that has one of those, like, everybody's over here, everybody has a sword, just right into everything.
Yeah.
I love the way they handled that in the South Park movie, where it was like, it's like the army, but they have like a fucking, you hear a chainsaw when they do that. And everybody's got a sword.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that this movie is bloodless.
Yeah.
This movie is PG-13. I mean, yeah, there's like a little cut or a little scrape every now and then. There's like a little like there every now and then. But this movie is practically bloodless. And I shit you not, there are sword fights where people die. Like, you know, Hercules will bring the sword around and it'll be like, ah! And then he'll just die. There are scenes where very visibly the sword makes no contact. Not even some CGI contact. Just no contact. Just the prop not hitting the guy.
Bad junior high play fight scenes.
Yeah, that's the way a lot of the acting was, too.
Yeah, no lie.
So, I'm just going to abruptly stop this.
So, there's that. I'm not going to say your catch line, 'cause that's the end of yours video. So, January will continue. God, I hope it gets better. Next week,
January won't.
Next week we've got Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit. We have Devil's Due, which looks horrible. We have
Radio Silence, though.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that makes me excited about it. You have The Nut Job, and the final movie of that day is Ride Along. So, these are all be watched on Friday. So, coming this Friday, you're going to get a review of something that actually might be a little bit more fun to do. And that are 4 big Oscar contenders right now in the same video. We're going to talk about August, Osage County, Her, Inside Llewyn Davis, and Nebraska. So, are there any parting words before we go on to the next filming?
No.